the current bid to curb football hooligans, supporters of London clubs Chelsea and Millwall in particular. And there's been some strong criticism of mild court sentences for the fans and even milder reprimands for the clubs. So Hector, you're among those critics. You want tougher action. What kind of action?
Well, I would start just by saying I'm absolutely astonished that in this golden opportunity of the crowd violence recently that the FA and the clubs haven't come out loud and clear that this has simply got to stop, and they will support action proposed by themselves or by the government.
Well, they talk enough about saying it has to stop, but what is the precise action that you want to see?
Well, I think there are really three areas that would hurt the rioters. I'm fed up with calling them hooligans. I think they're just rioters. And I think the first is certainly they would lose their freedom. And by that I mean the magistrates will just have to give them custodial sentences. And secondly, they'll lose their drink. And it's high time we stopped them taking drink into grounds and being able to buy it within grounds. This has been prevented in Scotland and worked extremely well. And thirdly, I think the other issue that they really value is their football. And if they lose their football, that's going to bring it home to them. And that means, of course, banning matches.
But the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester has talked about that today. He says that for all of us really is the end of the road. If we've actually got to ban football matches, surely there are other and better things to do than that.
Well, of course, in totality we don't want to ban football. We want to see football. We want everyone to enjoy football in peace and quiet. But, I mean, some clubs have got to face the ban, like Millwall should, and I think Chelsea should over the recent riots.
But is it really their fault? I mean, there have been a lot of accusations that this has been stirred up. One doesn't want to talk about spies under the bed, but there have been accusations of extreme groups, National Front and others, actually stirring that. Now, what can a club do against that?
Well, they are providing the entertainment, and it's their responsibility, certainly inside the ground. And I know the Football Ground Improvement Trust has helped a lot in improving conditions and putting up fences and all the rest of it. But we can see from what happened at Luton that it was inadequate. The seats fell apart and you could throw them into the middle of the ground, and no impact at all on reducing the riot.
Clearly you, from what you said, would criticise the passing of a sentence of a mere £75 fine on a Millwall supporter. But today there was a case of a Chelsea fan who was actually sent to jail just for swearing. Isn't that really too extreme in terms of a sentence?
Well, who knows what the details were, but frankly, the fine of £75 doesn't mean much. They have a whip round amongst themselves and it's paid and they've gone. I think you've got to lock them up and make life pretty miserable for a few months or even a few years if they've used weapons.
All you're saying now does seem a criticism of the man who's followed you into the job of Minister of Sport.
No, I don't think this is true at all. I think what we're talking about is in the hands of the magistrates now. I think they're far, far too lenient on that side. And secondly, we don't want to interfere as politicians with the governing bodies, but frankly, the FA have got to take a lead on banning alcohol going into the grounds.
So, Hector, thank you very much indeed. And thank you indeed for coming from the Commons, where you were listening to what seemed to me a somewhat muted budget speech.